The first major domino of the 2025 NBA offseason has fallen, and it fell hard. Kevin Durant, once again redefining the landscape, has landed with the Houston Rockets, sending shockwaves across the league. Meanwhile, the other potential headline dominator, Giannis Antetokounmpo, appears to be staying put in Milwaukee. For now. The blockbuster buzz of April and May hinted at chaos. And while those two stories have been resolved earlier than expected, don't let that fool you. The storm has just begun. Jrue Holiday, a Celtics staple of recent success, is now a Portland trailblazer, and the very next day, Boston followed that up by unloading Kristaps Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks in a trade that felt more like a chess move than a surrender. The message is clear. Don't blink. Even if the MVP level movement seems to be slowing, the ripple effect of what's still to come could shift the balance of power in the NBA for years. The upcoming decisions could determine who lifts the Larry O'Brien Trophy in 2026 and who gets left behind. So, let's hit pause, take stock, and reset the board. With Durant and Giannis largely accounted for, here are the 8 critical questions that will dominate the remainder of this already chaotic offseason. 1. Are the Celtics done, or just getting started with their reset? Boston entered the offseason as the most expensive roster in NBA history, nearly $22 million above the league's punitive second apron, staring down a staggering $493 million payroll. Initially, the Celtics were prepared to keep the band together for one last dance, but everything changed when Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. Suddenly, there was no title to chase in 2026. There was no justification for paying through the nose just to be average. So the Celtics pivoted fast. Holiday out. Porzingis out. Boston now sits under the second apron, and for the first time in years, flexibility has returned to the front office. But could they go further? Sam Hauser remains on a team-friendly $10 million deal, and moving him could drop Boston out of the luxury tax altogether. Why does that matter? Under the NBA's new collective bargaining agreement, repeat tax offenders face brutal financial penalties. Avoiding the tax now could reset the clock, potentially saving Boston hundreds of millions in future years. Ownership may be more inclined to reinvest later, once Tatum is healthy again. So don't be surprised if the Celtics aren't done trimming fat. 2. Brooklyn, savior of cap-strapped franchises or sleeper contender. If the rest of the league wants to cut salary, they'll have to go through Brooklyn to do it. The Nets, quietly holding the most cap space in the NBA, are perfectly positioned to become the kingmakers of the 2025 offseason. They've already absorbed Terrence Mann's contract in exchange for a draft pick, a sign that they're open for business. Brooklyn can open up more than $59 million in cap space if they really want to, though they'll likely leave some room to re-sign Cam Thomas. But the real question is how they'll use that space. Will they operate as a dumping ground for bloated contracts in exchange for draft capital? Or will they throw a wrench in free agency by targeting players like Miles Turner? They could also overpay for young, under-the-radar restricted free agents and bet on upside. Either way, the Nets don't just have options. They control the entire board. 3. Can the Mavericks find a real guard before it's too late? Let's make this clear. Kyrie Irving won't be available until mid-season at best, following his ACL recovery. And even when he returns, Dallas's backcourt remains paper thin. Jaden Hardy hasn't developed into the offensive threat many hoped he would. Brandon Williams has potential, but he's not ready to carry the load. The Mavericks need someone, anyone, who can break down a defense off the dribble and stabilize the offense. Yet, GM Nico Harrison continues to lean into defense-first ideology. They were reportedly in the Drew Holiday sweepstakes before Boston made their move, proving they're prioritizing two-way impact over offensive dynamism. The roster is also wildly unbalanced. They're essentially hoarding size. They've got 3 starting-level centers, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, 2 starting 4s, Cooper Flagg and PJ Washington, and 2 small forwards, Najee Marshall and Klay Thompson. But ball handlers, shot creators, floor generals, crickets. Is Harrison really going to go to war with this mismatched lineup? Or can someone, maybe a savvy veteran like Chris Paul, bring stability to the perimeter? 4. Is LeBron staying in LA or plotting a late career twist? Every summer brings whispers, but this year feels different. LeBron James is a free agent. Bronny is in the league. And there's a sense of finality hanging over his time in Los Angeles.